Today, on Rise Up, we are joined by a member of the Human Rights Department as they share the latest persecution taking place with members of the faith. Next, the riser responds to the growing discussion around the miracles. As his words spread like wildfire across the internet, a wave of backlash followed. Christian influencers began a campaign of mockery and misinformation, yet the truth stood firm, and the miracle spoke for itself. Then, we take a look at a video shared by a believer in which he debates a Shia scholar at Speaker's Corner in the United Kingdom. We are then joined by Kevin Al Almahdi, who delves into why Christians should follow the riser. And finally, we examine some of the key proofs that point to the riser as the Mahdi. This is Rise Up.
Welcome to Rise Up. I'm Alia Halal.
Very good morning to everybody. Welcome to Rise Up.
Now, we've had some believers who've been going around talking to various people of the public in Speaker's Corner. We're going to be going into that today.
Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park, yes. Lots of fond memories.
It's been a very long time since I've been there, but
yes.
A very busy place.
It's a very busy place. It's a place where I recall used to go there when we were walking through, coming in from the back where Hyde Park was. You used to walk through Hyde Park and just before you reach Marble Arch, and then you used to reach Speaker's Corner, and there was always some religious folk there. I never understood, why is it that every person who has any interest in religion is gathered here? Occasionally you'll have a few political revolutionaries who are there, who were saying that capitalism sucks and so on and so forth, but mainly people of religion shouting at each other, and cursing each other, brandishing sticks and papers and stones at one another. And it was just one of those fascinating things, and it's really quite a spectacle. No,
it's really interesting, and it's a very fascinating place that the believers decided to go from their own volition. They said, hey, let's just go to Speaker's Corner and talk to some people there.
Yeah, and I would urge anybody who has desire to engage in debate, or just to have some good, entertainment.
I was going to say, if you want something interesting to happen in your day.
Right, show up there with some popcorn and you just watch the fireworks, because that's what it is. It's just, like Alia said, people brandishing religious texts at one another with the intention to do harm most of the time. And every so often, on one of those rare occasions, you'll run into somebody who has something genuinely interesting to say. Yeah. And even like a needle in a haystack, if you are looking, you'll find that individual, and they will say something that really gets you to think about your life. So there's all kinds of people gathered there for religious debate.
Yeah, it's an interesting place, and it's a very busy location.
Yes, it is.
A place where there's quite a lot of people who are actually willing to have a conversation about God and religion. So it was quite interesting when some of the believers in the United Kingdom said, hey, let's go ahead and talk there. And we have footage of that. We're going to be showing you guys that footage in a bit. We also have a conversation that took place with Abu Sadiq and ourselves, and that was to do with miracles. A lot of people have been asking about that, and it's a very strange topic, and I'm excited to talk to you about that, Dr. Irfan, actually, because it is a very weird thing where those who see miracles are either in awe and reverence or in fear and terror, and they can take it in a very positive light or in a very negative light, and it's a weird thing to see. But it's so easy to read history books or books of scripture and read that other prophets and messengers did great things and say, yeah, I totally believe that happened, even though I never saw it and I was never there. Yeah, it is interesting.
It is very interesting, and this is the nature of miracles is a very fascinating topic. A lot of people are expecting that it will be miracles falling from the sky like rain before they can identify the true Caliph of God, the true appointed and anointed one in this time, the King of the earth as chosen by God, not by mankind. But miracles actually take a back seat to many other important criteria. It is one after these three mandatory criteria that is important, and certainly a lot of the prophets did do miracles, but many of them didn't, and so it should not be the be-all and end-all in the identification process of looking at somebody and saying you are a false claimant. Certainly miracles does not feature in that list, although it is a part of the religious faith given to those people who would be beneficiaries of it. Every time a miracle was done, when there was no faith or no understanding of the religion, people who saw miracles often denied, rejected, and labeled the miracle doer a magician, a sorcerer, a black magician, a wizard. And these things are, of course, never going to be something that you should have at the forefront of your mind if you are in truth expecting to identify God and His chosen vicegerent.
Exactly. So, yeah, there's quite a bit to talk about today. We also have some of the proofs of the Qaim that are constantly being released on the channels, and they're really, really good because they're very short, but they're very strong in their stance of how he is that Qaim and how the evidence is so uncanny. You cannot deny it. You cannot ignore it. It's something that's really right in your face. So, yeah, let's get into it. Let's see what our community posts are.
Yeah, let's launch into our community posts from the beginning.
1, 2, 3, ABC. My name's Hassan. I'm my brother Zakir at Speakers Corner, Hyde Park in London. We are giving da'wah and just raising awareness of the religion of Ahmadi, Ahmadi religion, peace of light. There's so many, it's very diverse, and there's so many different sects of religion. If you want to maybe come and join us and support us, or if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to come.
So yeah, that's what happened, and there's more to come.
Yeah, that's the melee that is Hyde Park Speakers Corner. It's it's just a lot of voices there. You have to be, I think, fairly young and passionate and have that kind of fiery religious zeal in you to be able to live there. But it's a space where people are essentially giving their their own understanding of their religious faith in a hope, with a wish to proselytize, maybe convert somebody to their way of thinking. So it's always going to be that kind of busy environment that you would see, that you really need to have your wits about you, and you need to be very calm and composed if you're going to stay afloat. I mean, I personally wouldn't want to be there at this ripe old age, but God. Certainly I was there very frequently while I was at university. So not very frequently, but every so often I would show up with a few other people, and we would be more like observers. We were just looking and listening. We were obviously studying a very intensive undergraduate courses at the time, but we did find it fascinating to hear all the different points of view from Jewish rabbis to Hindu and Buddhist monks and all kinds of people, and it was just interesting. So yeah, this is one of our brothers there who is now talking about our creed.
Yes, and there's more footage of the conversation and the people that he spoke to. So let's go ahead and see it.
So the Calamity first, he said, give me pen and paper. I'll write something which will protect you from misguidance. So he wrote in that will the 12 Imams, alayhi salam. He started from Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, and he wrote the 12 Mahdis. Have you heard of that hadith?
The 12 Mahdis.
Yeah.
We have this hadith.
Yeah.
After 12 Imam, 12 Mahdis.
Yes, clear.
Yeah, we have this hadith. And another hadith, Imam alayhi salam said, the Mahdi is not Imam.
The Mahdi is not an Imam.
From Shia, and the core people make da'wah for people to follow Ahl al-Bayt, not Imam.
Oh, okay. Where is that? Which book is that about?
This is in Ghaibat al-Shaykh al-Tusi. We have this, this book.
Okay.
But, no, actually, you believe in God.
No, because, for example, when Rasulullah said, follow these 12 Imams and 12 Mahdis, it's meaning...
No, not say to follow 12 Mahdis.
He said, I'll show you.
No. My friend, I read this hadith.
Okay.
Excuse me. He don't say follow 12
Imams. He don't. Okay.
No, he said
after them.
Excuse me. Then we must read all riwayat. He said the after me 12 Imam. Only 12 Imam. This is all books say.
Oh, okay, but not follow.
No, we must follow this 12 Imams. And the Imams say, because some people say, I ask, this is 12 Imam, Mahdis, what is this? You must follow them. They say, this is from Shia. Like
Shia follower.
La. The Mahdis is like me, you.
Oh, so I can be a Mahdi. He can be a Mahdi.
Inshallah.
Really? So when Rasulullah is saying...
Yeah, Imam say from Shi'atuna, not say from Hujjatullah. He say Imam for Shi'atuna.
So that means that anybody can be Mahdi.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Anyone
Yeah, but these people come for after Imam Mahdi alayhi salam.
Okay, one question.
But from Shia, not Hujjatullah.
Okay.
The first one, Imam say Mahdi is from Shia.
Okay.
What do you mean from Shia?
His followers.
Exactly.
Yeah, not only his followers.
Not Hujjatullah.
Yeah.
I know what you say.
I believe Mahdi, you know the 12 Mahdi, Imam Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Askari. Al-Mahdi, he's a Hujjah. Okay, how do I call him?
Hujjatullah, but name Imam
is wrong.
We have riwayat. She said don't mention name Imam.
You're not allowed to say, okay, I didn't know.
Ali, I would like to hear your opinion on this, being a former Shia yourself. Which seminary is this man hailing from? What's he talking about?
He's clearly a 12 Shia scholar.
Okay.
And he's actually a very well-known one. He's appeared here and there. His name is Ali al-Musaddaq. And this is such an interesting claim. So the will of Prophet Muhammad is so clear in what it says. Prophet Muhammad, imagine he takes the time on his deathbed with whatever life force he has left. He wants to convey this final, extremely important message that he says, if the Muslim Ummah hold on to it, they'll never go astray. And then he dictates it and Imam Ali is writing it down. And this individual knows about it. He says, yes, I know this hadith. So what does Prophet Muhammad say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He says, after me there will be 12 Imams and after them there will be 12 Mahdis. Why is he mentioning the 12 Mahdis? Because they are important, not because they're unimportant. If he's on his deathbed saying that after the 12 Imams come 12 Mahdis for the guidance of mankind, and he's naming the first three, then clearly he wants us to be aware of them, and clearly they are people we have to follow. And he never says in the will that the proofs upon the people are the 12 Imams and the 12 Mahdis are unimportant and I'm just going to mention them on a whim because I feel like it. He's saying after them will be the 12 Mahdis. So this is the system that God has intended, and he's made it very clear in the will of Prophet Muhammad, and it's very obvious for everyone who wants to read it. But now the scholar has decided to say that, look, the 12 Imams are very important. They are the proofs of God upon the people.
So at least he acknowledges the will. I mean, some people haven't even heard about this narration.
Yeah, that's true. But he has to, because he's a scholar, and it would be very embarrassing for him to say, I don't know about the will of Prophet Muhammad. So absolutely, he's accepting the 12 Imams, but then he has the audacity to claim
Then there's a train wreck.
Yeah, because then he goes like, anyone can be a Mahdi. And then Brother Hassan is like, so I can be a Mahdi? He's like, inshallah. Yeah, maybe you're a Mahdi. I mean, it's not a freebie. You know, it's a huge rank.
Yep. It's a huge rank that can only be given to you by a predecessor in the will. In that sequence of people mentioned, as Sister Alia said, the 12 Imams and the 12 Mahdis. In order to be appointed, and recently one of the Mahdis was identified by Abu Sadiq publicly.
Yes.
And we'd known about it for a little while, but it was something that public appointment was made in a very similar way as in the event of Ghadir.
Yes.
And it was a beautiful event.
It was a live event. It was really beautiful.
Right. And that individual that we know very well and love, and he had his arm raised aloft by a person who was already a Mahdi, identified by his predecessor, Imam Ahmad al-Hassan. Mentioned in the will. He was actually the claimant of the will, so it didn't even have to be a public proclamation or declaration.
Exactly.
This is the interesting thing. And some Shia scholars say, oh, where is this Yamani figure who you say is a successor of Imam al-Mahdi? Well, the difference between the first and second Mahdis and the ones that come after them is that the first and second Mahdis were mentioned explicitly by the will. So they claimed the will of the Prophet Muhammad. So they did not require a public appointment, like as happened with the Prince of the Believers, Imam Ali, when he became the successor to the Prophet Muhammad, nor yet with Jesus and Simon Peter, which was another public declaration that this is the successor. Abu Sadiq and Ahmad al-Hassan, from them is peace, the first and second Mahdis, they claimed the will, the written will. But every Mahdi that comes after them has to be appointed by them because their names are not mentioned in the will.
Yeah.
Now, this is a very key fact. So no, Mr. Scholar, not anybody, you, me, that, this, that, the other, can be a Mahdi. Or it's not just the Shia who can be the Mahdis. It can only be the ones that have been appointed by those people who are expressly mentioned in the will. So unless Abu Sadiq himself comes to you and says, you are one of the Mahdis, there is no other way that you can claim that rank or title or position. Impossible.
And it's such a ludicrous statement to think that, I mean, this is the tragedy that we're looking at now. Those who call themselves the Shia of Ali are actually the ones belittling the whole concept of wilaya. And wilayat or wilaya was that concept.
They're ridiculing it.
And they have tried their best to eradicate it, despite considering themselves to be Shia, and despite the fact that the entire legacy of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad is the wilaya. And Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib was terribly oppressed because his people were not giving him the right to take care of them. So the fact that the Shia are now saying this, there is literally no difference. I mean, no wonder the covenant has been broken. There's no one that you see from these scholars who claim to be Shia who is actually standing up for the rights of the Ahlul Bayt, for the rights of the Imams and the Mahdis, and saying this is a rank and a position of caliphate, and only an infallible man can have it, and only a divinely appointed individual will be able to secure that position in the eyes of God. Instead, he says, oh, it's not that important, don't worry, anyone can be a Mahdi. To be honest with you, when I was watching that the first time, I did actually think it was an enactment or some kind of
parody or something.
Because it doesn't. It is quite,
because it is laughable, really.
It really is. What you're hearing is laughable, and it looked like some, I don't mean to be offensive, but it really did look very amusing. It looked like some sort of costume that's been worn, and the aura with which he's speaking, it's just a bit, I don't know.
It looks like one of those skits that we would make when we do our Nadine segments, right?
Remember back in the day, in the Germany days, and in Egypt as well. So yeah, I think it continues. I think there's more to it. Yeah, there is more to it.
The real life Anadine.
Subhanallah.
Let's call him that.
That should have been the name of the segment. Let's go ahead and see the next one.
Do you know Ahmad al-Hassan?
I've heard of him, yes.
Do you believe him?
The Yamani?
Yamani? Do you
Yes,
believe?
yes,
He said, I'm Imam, yeah?
Naam.
Say, I'm Imam. So you are from Ahmad al-Hassan, which Abdullah Hashim you follow?
Naam. He's the Qa'im. He's Qa'im of Rasulullah.
Okay. Listen, somebody called me in the channel and he won't make debate. If you see him, I won't make debate with him or with...
Really, you will accept?
I make debate with him or with the office.
MashaAllah, yes, we can arrange that, yes. Well, not me personally, but...
Exactly. But, what I want to say, listen, that means Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ahlul bayti alayhim salam, them give us way to know what's right or false.
Perfect. So how do you...
Wait. The first one, Imam say, anybody ادعاها مدعٍ. Say, I'm Imam. فاسألوه عن تلك العظائم التي يجيء فيها مثله. Like now.
I don't speak Arabic. So.
I want to. So now, if I live in the time of Prophet, how I know this is wrong or true? Like Musaylim al-Kadhab, say I'm Prophet. We know him in the Mu'jizah. Okay? In the Mu'jizah. Like Shaq al-Qamar, like Asa Musa. You know?
Oh, like miracle.
Exactly.
But okay, I say...
One second. So, anyone, he say, I'm Imam, okay? Except, but we need show us
miracle. But
if he don't, this means he's Dajjal.
But Dajjal can do miracle.
Never ever.
Dajjal in the narration, he said he will bring people. He can do miracle.
Narrated for Nasibi book. Okay. We don't believe Dajjal make miracle.
Yes.
Because why?
Listen.
Because Allah, if he make miracle in the hand of his enemy, this means Allah.
So you don't believe
Dajjal?
This means
Allah not God. Wal-iyadhu billah. No, God, he can't make miracle. Sorry, Dajjal. He can't.
Dajjal can't do miracle.
Never ever.
Really?
Yes.
It's in the books.
Yes.
Okay.
And the aql also. So,
your
da'wah, I'm ready, but if you want full reality, we follow Ahlul Bayt. Okay. Ahlul Bayt say, the anyone say, I'm Imam, he must give
miracles. Okay, but I say, for example, we disagree. I say miracle is not enough. We need something, for example, a will.
You can't say, I'm...
Well done to Brother Hassan for what he said, because a miracle is not enough. And I am shocked. Yes. I think that they just now, at this point, they're just saying anything. hoping that no one reads the books.
I mean, the incoherence was stupefying, and I think that portly gentleman using the walking stick to keep himself up, even though he looks very young, he really doesn't seem to have any concept of what the Dajjal is.
How can he say that the Dajjal will not make or not perform miracles? How can he say that? And by the way, it's so easy to defy that immediately. If you go through history, are there people who were opposing God who could perform great miracles and who could do magic? Of course there were.
Yes, exactly.
The magicians in the court of Pharaoh were not divinely enforced, and yet they were performing these superhuman feats of transfiguration in front of the people, in front of a live audience.
Yeah. And even if it was an illusion and people perceived it to be magic, well, isn't that what magic is? It's illusion of the eyes. It's the deception of the senses, which is why he is called Dajjal. So this individual is very ill-informed. He is somebody who is saying basically to this brother of ours that the Mahdi has to say, I'm the Mahdi, and just show us the miracles. And that's it. He didn't mention the will. He actually completely tried to delete that from the equation. And because of that, he will never find the Mahdi. And all those people who are in his wilaya will never find the Mahdi. This is why we keep emphasizing to the people that unless you dissociate from the scholars of misguidance, unless you cut that chain of taqleed, you will never find the true successor of God, the true vicegerent and caliph of God, who is clearly Abu Sadiq, because he comes from that unbroken chain that goes back to the will and those mentioned in it.
Exactly, and it is shocking to me. If for any 12 Shia listening right now, you have to agree with what I'm saying here. The book of Al-Kafi has a plethora of narrations that all state so clearly that if you want to know the Imam of the time, you have to find the companion who finds or shows the apparent will. That is the first thing that you read every single time. The companions would go to an Imam and say, how will we know the companion of this matter? How will we know the Sahib al-Amr? How will we know the Mahdi, the Hujjah?
Yep.
And the Imam would always, whether it was Imam Muhammad Baqir, whether it was Imam Jafar Sadiq, whichever Imam was being approached with that question, they would unanimously state the apparent will. Yes, they can state other things with it. He'll have knowledge. He'll tell you the difference between the halal and the haram. He will establish peace and justice, whatever it is. But there was always the mention of the apparent will. Because without that cornerstone of faith, you cannot know what to do next or where to turn. And it's not even... It's very simple. If human beings know how to create a legal system that makes sense, that's coherent, that's clear, that everyone can agree on, then why is God unable to do that? If something is illegal on earth for human beings to go and represent a client or a person without having it officially legalized or verified or vouched for as a document, why is it that God wouldn't do the same thing? He would. Of course he would, and he has. And it's written down, and that's what's unsettling, is that the books of narration have it written very clearly, the fact that there will be an apparent will. There's even an Arabic word for it called nas, which is essentially what that refers to is this science of having written down lineage. And it was so widely known. It was part of the culture during the time of the Imams. Now in this day and age, the scholars have done their best to eradicate that because they have literally adopted the Sunni version of Islam and they're pretending to be Shia. And I say that very happily and very easily because everything that you see in 12 Shia Islam today, from ijtihad to taqleed, is Sunni Islam. So that's what we just saw there. This individual stands there through the will of Prophet Muhammad behind his back and said, I need the Mahdi to do great miracles for me. Where do we find that being from the people of God, that kind of statement in the Holy Quran, in the Bible? Who talks like that to the prophets and messengers? Show us a sign, compel us to believe. It was the disbelievers. Yes,
and for his information, anybody who rejects the companions of the will and dislikes them or calls them a Dajjal is by definition a Nasibi. So the people who he is labeling Nasibi, he is actually a Nasibi himself.
Exactly.
This is the thing.
Irony.
That's the irony.
Sheer irony. I mean, yeah, you're going to say that the Dajjal will not do miracles, then why is he the Dajjal and why will anyone follow him?
Right. This is what his speciality.
Then why do these 12 Shias look at Abu Sadiq and when they hear that he does miracles, they say, there he is, it's the Dajjal.
Yeah, it's...
I mean, pick a side, guys. You know, you don't know what you're looking for. You don't know what you believe in. You don't know what your criteria are. And a lot of people are waking up and do understand, and that's a very refreshing thing to see. But anyone who's holding on to these, I have to say it, these parasites of society, honestly, who have made sure that people are so confused, let's not do that. Let's not shame ourselves, you know, and our forefathers who were, you know, in the time of the prophets and messengers. Let's not be like the people of the disbelieving faction of society that would oppress the man from God. My goodness.
Yeah. That's and to the people, please don't let these predators prey on you. No. Don't let them deceive you, because they are the Dajjals. Why the Dajjal? Because they are deceiving you in terms of the legacy of your Prophet Muhammad. The most important document in our religion is the will. It's been preserved. It's there with the Shia, and yet they throw it behind their backs, even though they recognize Abu Sadiq like they recognize their own sons. They
do. And there's so many loopholes, or not loopholes, what do you call it, plot holes in this man's argument, that it's very maybe it's
there are a lot of flaws in his
there
logic,
are flaws. Yeah, I think I'm taking it personally because because I've lived seeing people like this.
Just remember, evokes old memories.
It really does. Like it really is. It's upsetting. It's really upsetting. I mean, make sense, you know. Please make sense. You know, this person, I think his name is Chris Angel, who does these strange miracles or feats of magic, and people are like in awe of what he does. Okay, how do they do it? There are people who do crazy things that are difficult to explain and have no explanation behind them. And like you said, Dr. Fan, maybe it's an illusion, but it's working.
Sleight of hand.
People are finding it to be a miracle, aren't they? The masses are being shocked and amazed. So
how did the Samiri make the golden calf, speak, or whatever it was doing?
So was he not a Dajjal? Was he not anti-God? Well then, anyway. Let's go on to the next part. I think there's another part to the story.
No. You follow Ahlul Bayt?
We disagree.
Do you follow Imam?
I follow, yes.
Finish. Yes. Imam say, anyone he say I'm Imam.
Anyone does.
Yes.
Of course.
We must ask him for miracle.
Okay, he does, Abdullah Hashim alayhi salam, he does miracles. Okay, I'll say.
What is miracle?
You want to see physically? Okay, go to Ahmadi religion website. You can see the miracles. See, now you're laughing.
Oh, brother.
Wallah,
brother.
The miracles
you know
there.
No,
you said.
Wallah,
you said,
listen. I can't do more what he'd say. Listen. I can't do the miracle. You know what I mean? شق القمر. الأفعى عصا like Musa عليه السلام.
نعم.
إحياء الموتى.
He brings someone dead.
And they come back for
yes, he did. He did.
Listen.
He did bring someone dead.
Bismillah. You can't, brother.
Listen, we're not arguing.
If he has,
so you're saying, let me say now, to identify the true Imam, you have that person, number one, has to show miracles. That's number one. Okay, is that it, or there's more? Miracle?
We have the hadith. What does this mean? What does this mean? من كنت مولاه فهذا علي مولاه. He said this.
Okay, so he says that.
And the second one, al-mu'jiza. And with your Imam, we must ask him for mu'jiza. Because why? Listen. He said, hello people, I am Imam. Hello people, I am Mahdi. Hello people, follow me. Brother,
no, he did not say that. He said, listen, my name was mentioned in the tongue of the Prophet Muhammad. Let me finish.
I can't say.
Where?
Wait. I can't say now. Example. I can't say, hello people, okay? I am from Morocco. If I say like this. If I say, I'm not, but example. I'm not from Morocco. But if I say, I am from Morocco, and we have riwayat, the last time he was coming Morocco, yalla people, come, follow me.
No, where's your name mentioned in the will of the Prophet?
Morocco.
Well, show me now.
We have hadith. Al-Maghribi.
Show me where
Al-Maghribi.
But you have to show me. Rasulullah said, after me, there's going to be this man named Al-Maghribi. Follow him.
We have hadith talking for Khurasani. We have hadith talking for Misri. We have hadith talking for Maghribi. We have hadith talking for, excuse me, Yamani. Not just one. Now listen, think. If I want reality, anyone he say, I'm Yamani, I'm Maghrib, and Misri. I must ask him for proof.
Evidence, yeah. So I'm telling you, there's 3 evidence. Number 1, there's a will. Number 2, that person has to have knowledge, ilm, unseen knowledge. And number 3, he calls people to supremacy to God. Only God.
This is wrong.
Yes, this is
I had to shake myself off.
Yeah, you have to take
I was
this one.
like, wow, there's a lot of, it also brings bad memories for myself. Exactly. Yes, there was a couple of
therapy
occasions
session in due
where,
here.
yes, I think we all need therapy after this because we are literally, there's terms I would like to use, but my mind is completely off now because I've just heard.
We are on a show and we have to break it down, I suppose.
Yes. Well, what he's saying is this. He's saying that if somebody comes from Morocco, I don't know where that he gets that from, but if somebody's from Morocco and he says, I am the Moroccan, follow me, then will you follow him? And you can see the dazed look on the face of our brother because he doesn't know what to say to this.
I don't understand
statement.
that. What did he mean?
Apparently.
What's he trying to say?
So he's just...
So Yemeni, Egyptian, he's like, shall I just say I'm the Moroccan? But there's no narration about a Moroccan, first off. Second, like Hassan said, are you mentioned in the will? And he kept repeating it. Are you mentioned in the will? Show me your name in the will.
Yeah, it's about the name being mentioned in a will. Yeah. That's what it's about.
And he kept ignoring that. He would not answer that.
He wouldn't, because there is no answer to this. You see, and they know it. So these are the true magicians, because now they're using their tricks, their sleight of hand to take people to Morocco when we're talking about the Mahdi. And even if it says Al-Maghribi, show us the narration. Like we have spoken about the mentioning of somebody who is the Misri or the person from Egypt. There are indeed narrations that also mention the Yemeni, and it doesn't refer to Yemen.
No.
But there are interesting narrations out there. Show us your narrations and then we'll see where it fits into the grand scheme of things. But what we're talking about is the will that has the names of the Imams and the first 3 Mahdis. That's what we'd like to focus on.
And that's what we're meant to focus on, according to the narrations. And actually, guess what? According to Ali al-Musaddaq right there, because he says it. I don't know if you guys caught it, but in between he was talking and he says, look, there are 2 things that are mentioned, the Nas and the miracles. And then he just ignores the Nas part and he jumps to miracles. And the Nas means that there has to be a written lineage, a written document with the lineage in it, or the bloodline, or the names of the successors, or something. There has to be written evidence. That is what Nas is referring to. And he just discarded what he himself said.
First in the
quickly.
2.
Yeah, the first in the 2.
First condition is the...
And he jumps to the miracles thing. And then when Brother Hassan says, okay, but Abdullah Hashim has done miracles, he starts laughing.
Yeah.
So you don't even want to hear the thing that you asked for. And then he says it has to be a miracle like split the moon or turn my staff into a snake like Moses. So please tell me how this is any different from all those people that are rebuked by God in the Holy Quran for facing up to Prophet Muhammad in his time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and saying, bring us something from the clouds, or it even says they demand parchments to come from. Is that what they want? A sealed letter from paradise to make them believe? That's what the Quran is saying. It's saying this is the wrong approach. They cannot demand that faith be imposed upon them, because that's what asking for a miracle is. You're asking God to force you to believe, because what you saw is so crazy and you're so overwhelmed by it that you don't even have to worry about making a leap of faith. You can just do a little shuffle of faith instead.
Yeah.
You know?
And speaking of shuffling, there was a lot of shuffling going on, and every time that he was confronted with the question of the will and the people named in it, he used to just grab the brother by the hand. And I thought that was a very, an invasion of personal space. Like, what's that about? Every time I'm trying to speak, you try to stop me and restrain me by holding my hand or stroking my arm or pulling my hand out of my pocket and raising it in the sky. I mean, what is this about? This is basically the actions and the cues of somebody who feels like they need to somehow interrupt the thought pattern of their person that they're debating with, and this is something that is very, very frowned upon, and this is something that should not be happening. But you can see that he was using everything from mocking, jokes and laughing at things that were being said. And our brother was very respectful. Not once did he put his head back like this and start laughing at something that the individual was saying. So you can see even the distinction between the morals and the manners. It is clearly with the people of truth, which is the people of the will. And the written will is a proof that no scholar, no matter how educated, how learned, how many things that they've memorized, they can never answer it, because this is something that God himself stands behind and protects. So, God is of course going to be the victorious one. And those with God they will be the victorious ones. So we invite you to be among those individuals. If you're watching the clips of that hilarious so-called Shia scholar who is talking about, he says, no, you have to be like me.
Yeah.
Like, I have a staff, the Mahdi will have a staff. I have a turban, the Mahdi will have... Like, these are just things of their own invention.
What on earth? Very strange and very well said, Dr. Irfan. You can see the clear distinction between the behavior of both individuals there. And I do have to say, for anyone listening now, if you're wondering, okay, so what should I do? Who are these people and what should I believe? We're people who actually believe in what God says. We don't just read the books and then throw them behind our backs. The Holy Quran reprimands that so severely that the verse says, those who are like donkeys who carry books on their backs. That is a very terrifying thing to be. Can you imagine being a human being that is reading books? And in the end, God is comparing you to basically just being a donkey that is walking around, but there are books on its back. So how useless are those books to the donkey? There's no point in reading books and reading scripture and reading verses and reading narrations and being super knowledgeable if we do not believe what we read. Now we say that if Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, whoever holds on to this will never go astray, then he means it, right? He means it. So he's not just saying that because he's exaggerating or being super poetic or dramatic. He means that this is the rope. There are people who are going to hold on to this rope and they will never go astray. And there are people who will not hold on to this rope. And guess what? They will go astray, right? That's the clear distinction. Now, who is holding on to that rope? Currently, at the moment, on the face of the planet, the only people holding on to that rope are the people from the call of Imam Al Mahdi, the call of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light. Why? Because the people mentioned in that will are Ahmad and Abdullah, and this is the only group that believe in Ahmad and Abdullah today on the face of the earth. And we are a very large group. We are spread out across the globe, but this is the only religion and the only call that does that. So you cannot say that other denominations of Islam are also doing the right thing or other denominations of Christianity are also okay. They're not holding on to that rope, which he says if you hold on to it, you'll never go astray. So that's who we are. And that's what the scholar is trying to defy and argue against, and he cannot. And he couldn't. So he kept trying to deviate from the argument. I think that's a shame. If he is on the right path, and he's actually a scholar, he showed a very poor display of guiding people to the truth.
Yes, he certainly did, and he didn't represent himself or his theology in a very good way at all. His manners, his way of speaking was completely off what it should have been, and I think there was a clear victor in the end. It was a knockout victory. It
really was very clear. Anyone watching with a shred of common sense will say, okay, this guy clearly doesn't want to answer the questions, and yes, Hassan is right. What about the will? You know. Now, speaking of miracles, Abu Sadiq actually commented on that himself because it's. Oh, we actually have one more video left. We can't,
of the same fake shake?
I think so, yeah. I like that, the fake shake.
That's it.
Let's go ahead and watch it then. We don't want to miss it.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, there's three evidence. Number one, there's a will. Number two, that person has to have knowledge, ilm, unseen knowledge. And number three, he calls people to supremacy to God. Only God.
This is wrong.
Yes.
This is wrong. Imams, you follow Imam? Imam say, anybody say I'm Imam, we must ask him for miracle.
Okay, I'm sure there is miracles.
You ask your Imam for miracle?
Okay, he brought someone from the dead. Okay, I'll give you one example.
Excuse me. What mean miracle?
Something that's ajib, amazing. No one can do. Only Allah. I'll give you. Okay.
What this mean?
He brought someone.
Somebody died. Yeah. Come back.
Yes, I'll show you. He did this. I'll show you. So now you don't believe. He did someone.
No.
I'll show you.
Brother,
someone has.
Excuse me. I'm ready. I'm ready to go, and we have 3-4 channels.
Really, you're ready?
We have 3-4 channels, and we go, and we need Shia. Bismillah.
Can you hear that? Yeah, inshallah.
Bismillah.
Inshallah, you debate with them.
Let's go. And we need miracle, okay? Bismillah.
Bismillah.
We're ready.
That's it.
You can contact me, okay?
Okay, what's your name?
Ali Musaddaq.
Ali.
You can't contact me.
Okay, no problem. Then we'll have discussion. Okay. Anyway, nice to meet you, bro.
Ended respectfully enough, but there was a lot of shouting and raising of voices, wasn't there? There was a lot of tension in the air.
Heightened blood pressure.
Yes.
I mean, it was so strange. The Mahdi has to do miracles. No, he doesn't. He has to show you the will. No, he has to show me the will, meaning the nas and the miracle. Okay, so you insist on a miracle? Yes. Well, Abdullah Hashim does miracles. What kind of miracles? He brought someone back from the dead. Ha ha ha. So the proof you asked for, you're laughing at your own proof. I mean, you asked for the evidence, you receive it, and then you start guffawing and laughing. I don't understand that. It's not adding up.
Neither do I. It's very illogical and very incoherent, and he's confused a lot of people, but he didn't represent himself very well, like I said, and I think our brother really won that completely, and he was very gracious, even though he could have laughed at him on many occasions for the things he was saying.
God bless his patience.
Very patient.
But you know why that sheikh was laughing? He was laughing because the thing he's asking for is actually something to laugh at, and he knows it. He's saying that he's asking for a miracle. He has to see a miracle, and when he's told, hey, there are miracles, we can point you in the direction of seeing them and witnessing the testimonies, he starts laughing. Meaning he knows it's something silly to ask for.
I did have a question briefly before we move on to the next segment. This thing, you mentioned nas. I think for a lot of the audience it would be a strange, unfamiliar word. It's not something we've spoken about before, but what he's really talking about is this lineage that goes all the way back to an imam or a prophet. Is this what he's talking about?
He's talking about a written evidence where the person who is on the throne, meaning God has appointed them, let's say it's David, right? He would have to write down, okay, next is Solomon.
Okay.
So he would have it, and the people around would be aware of that document. They would be able to read it, and they would know, okay, this is it. So the nas of Jesus Christ would be the scroll of Isaiah. He would have it there saying, hey, look,
okay, so it is another way of saying the written will, then.
Yeah.
It's a Farsi word, or I imagine.
It's Arabic. It's in the narrations, but it's like a...
So it's like saying wasiya, another word, right?
Yeah, but it's not the wasiya itself. It's just the concept of being written about. It's the concept of having it written down that you actually were mentioned and you were appointed, and here you are, and you're supposed to be vouched for by your predecessor. It's like a power of attorney kind of thing, right? So it's known, like it was... In this day and age, this is the day and age of confusion. Dr. Ali, who is our Arabic presenter on the other channel, he did an incredible presentation on this, which is available on the Ahmadi Religion of Peace and Light YouTube channel, which we should probably show one day on Rise Up, actually. This presentation is so incredible, you should definitely watch it. But what he mentions in it is that in this day and age, the idea of nas, or the idea of writing a will, is foreign to people. They're not aware of how things worked back in the day. But before, in the times of the prophets and messengers and the imams, it was extremely normal to know that there has to be someone who is appointed by God, that he would write down what's happening next and who's in line, and everyone's aware of that will, and everyone knows who's mentioned in it. So now it's strange. Back then it wasn't. And scholars today are trying to keep it like that. They want to say, no, don't worry about it, even though they've read all these books and they know what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So yeah, going back to miracles, because Ali Al-Musaddiq is very passionate about miracles. Abu Sadiq anyway, subhanAllah, because people are asking him not just from the Muslim world but also from the Christian world about the idea of whether or not he does miracles. And people were asking, well, if you're the successor of Jesus Christ, do you perform miracles? And he answered that question. So let's watch the answer. Abu Sadiq, the next question that we've received quite a lot was about miracles. And there's this question which is that if Jesus performed miracles, his successor should be able to do the same. And we as a community have seen you performing miracles. We wanted you to comment on their question about the performing of miracles by the successors.
I think that miracles are not a way to discern whether or not somebody is appointed by God or not appointed by God. And just simply put, Christians and Muslims, they both believe that one of the greatest miracle workers that will ever walk on the earth is the Antichrist. That he does this in their traditions, many great miracles and wonders, right? And the false prophets too, they do miracles and wonders. And so miracles does not in it and of itself prove whether or not somebody's from God or not God. And there were individuals in the time of Simon Peter that used to levitate and do other sorts of tricks or use demons to perform so-called miracles. And so it's not a way to know. Yes, the divinely appointed messengers can perform miracles. Lots of them do, not all of them do. And you have examples in the Bible of prophets that did not perform miracles, so to speak, like in terms of extraordinary supernatural feats. For example, like Joseph in the Bible, he did not perform miracles, like walking on water or splitting the sea like Moses or healing the leper or resurrecting the dead like Jesus. But rather, Joseph just had the gift of a dream interpretation, right? And this could be considered a miracle, but really it's more of knowledge. Yeah. And so that's the thing. It's not a condition that every prophet or divinely appointed messenger have miracles. And even if somebody did come with miracles in it and of itself, it's not sufficient proof. Now, in terms of what they really want to ask, which is, where are your miracles? If I testified on my own behalf, it would be pointless. And so I will just refer that question to you and to the rest of the believers. If it's you and the brothers and the sisters in our faith and in our congregation that have testified that you guys have seen dozens of miracles with me, so I'll let you guys testify. I'll let you guys also testify to the fact that you guys have had dreams where you've seen prophets and messengers and imams and angels validate the claims which I am making. I'll let you guys testify to that. I'll let you guys testify to the istikharas in which you guys made that showed you that this call was the truth and gave you firm resolve and holding on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sticking to this path. And so all these methods of verifying whether this is a true call or not, other than the law of recognizing the hujjah, I let you guys testify, and it's also up to them whether they believe or not believe. As for me personally, I don't think that they necessarily should just believe because somebody else claimed that they had a dream, or that they claimed that they saw a miracle, or they claimed that they had an istikhara. These could be, these stories can be great for them to give them additional comfort. But I say, like Ahmad al-Hassan said, I don't want, and we don't want anybody to follow us blindly. The worst type of follower that we could have is a follower who is an ignorant follower, who doesn't know why it is that they believe. Somebody who rushed to believe and proclaim faith and pledge allegiance to this call without knowing, because those who enter into this call fast exit out of this call fast. And so somebody has to, that commits to this path, they need to be like a firm tree that has its roots implanted in the ground and that does not swing to the left or the right with any storm or any wind that blows, like the wind that causes the grass to go back and forth. That's the type of believers that we need, and in order to reach that level of certitude, they need to research and they need to see, is it logical? Are the things that I'm saying truthful, or are there lies in it? If they can sense lies, then they should not believe. They should go on carrying on with the spirit of discernment that they have in them and move on to the next video or do whatever it is that they need to do. But if they find that I speak no lies, then they owe it to themselves so that they don't end up being the same as those Jews that were rejecting Jesus and the apostles. They need to pay attention to this call, because I think at the end of this call, they're going to find Jesus and they're going to find Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam validating and confirming the fact that they sent me forward.
SubhanAllah. And Abu Sadiq, we do testify. We testify that we've seen the greatest of miracles on this journey with you, and through all these years of knowing you. That's all we have seen.
God bless you, Ali.
And there is such a huge number of miracles that have been attested to by the followers of the congregation of Abu Sadiq, and we've catalogued all of them, and there are so many videos that speak about miracles in all shapes and forms, from healing and health miracles all the way to people's visions and dreams, being given answers to questions, and the list goes on. And it's not just here in the immediate community, but people also who are living outside, believers all over the world, have stated that they have seen in their dreams messengers and prophets coming to them with glad tidings, and so on and so forth. And Abu Sadiq is saying at the very end of that clip, he says something very, a thing that has a great deal of gravity, which he says that now it's, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for Imam Mahdi to come and give his own testimony before you will believe in the miracles, and this is something that we have to be excited about and looking forward to. But Alia, the list of miracles is so many. I mean, we've made so many miracle videos and segments, haven't we?
Yes, I think that recently also, on the anniversary, the 10-year anniversary, we released 2 incredible episodes of Chasing a Miracle.
Chasing a Miracle.
And Chasing a Miracle was a fan favorite back in the day. It was a regular.
It was a whole playlist, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was recently on the 10-year anniversary. We had that what happened in Sweden. There were 2 great miracles that happened in Sweden, and they were aired on the channel. And it was the first time that we shared that with the world, including the believers. The believers out there weren't aware of those miracles in particular. We, of course, knew here in the community, but we hadn't shared it with anyone outside. So those were unbelievable. Those were amazing. And imagine this giant group of people witnessing it happening simultaneously. It was something back in the time when it did happen. And to belie each and every person who's testifying to that, I think that's a great shame, especially if now that's the problem, right? If a person says my criterion on which I will base the validity of the Mahdi is a miracle, and then you have 100 people saying I just saw this miracle, and you're like, no, that's not good enough. Well, then your criterion is not good enough. Your measurement is not good enough. You cannot trust your own criterion on how to know the Mahdi. So clearly, that cannot be the way to measure. That cannot be the scale on which you measure the Mahdi. There's something else by which you can know his identity, and there is something else, and that's what we've been trying to say. We're saying that the one who claims the will be the rightful claimant.
Yeah,
people wait for miracles anyway.
You know, this is what they're really saying, Alia, is show me the miracle.
Yeah,
like when I sit here, come show me something. Amaze me. Let that camel come out of that mountain.
Yeah.
And then when it comes out, I'm going to kill that camel and say you're a sorcerer and say you're wicked and say you're a demon and deny and reject everything that you say and do. So it's the same story repeating itself. And the story I'm talking about this is the story of Prophet Saleh, which is very well known by Muslims all over the world, where people, and it's mentioned in the Quran, where they demanded that a she-camel, a huge she-camel, come out of the mountain, out of the rock. And when that happened, they all were stunned and put into their place, but yet they then rejected and killed that camel, and then upon them descended the judgment of God. As it always does, the people break their end of the bargain, then God responds with his karmic justice. And this is what these scholars are like. They're exactly the same. Even if they saw the most stupendous of miracles that they would never be able to explain away or deny, they would reject anyway. Why? Because they never grabbed hold of the wilayah to begin with. They are only demanding miracles to strengthen their disbelief. Yeah. And they want others to disbelieve like them. The first condition is accepting and giving allegiance based on the written will, or the nas, as he put it, and word of the day. So this is something that has to be, this condition must be met before you can benefit anything from seeing miracles. But there are certainly a whole host of them, and we've all seen them with our very own eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fascinating that, again, people want to be amazed and they want to be forced to believe. And we have to recognize that as a problem, because that is not called faith. Faith is believing in the unbelievable. So if it becomes believable because it's happening to you or in front of you, then that cannot be the reason why you start believing. Miracles happen for people when they have believed, when they are in a state of submission already to God. That's when great miracles take place. That's when you can see visions and you realize that they're happening in front of your eyes and there's prophecy being fulfilled. That's when you're on that beautiful journey with God, where He's showing you His greatness because you accepted Him. He's not going to come and push you into believing in Him. Otherwise, why wouldn't He just do that from the get-go? Why is it that Jesus Christ would go to different towns and cities and not perform miracles? A lot of times He didn't. People think that Jesus Christ was just popping up on the scene and left, right, and center doing miracles. There are many places in
And by the way, there were other places where He couldn't do any miracles, and people were casting stones at Him and saying, show us your miracles, magician. And He said that because the land is so full of disbelief, that it's impossible to do miracles here. And this is Jesus, the miracle worker, saying this.
Which means that the miracle worker needed to see the faith of the people before he would perform the miracle. And that has to be realized here. again, if he wanted, he could have just come up to the public and said, look, I'm the Messiah, let me show you, and immediately started healing the blind or bringing the dead back to life. But he didn't do that. He pulled the scroll of Isaiah out, and he allowed himself to be harassed and pulled around and pushed around and dragged out of from in front of the temple. Why did he allow himself to go through that if he's such a great miracle worker? He could have just done something. Why did he get arrested? Why did they try and crucify him? Why was he called a demon-possessed individual? Because he was able to exorcise demons out of people.
Yes.
People are not satisfied by miracles alone. Miracles alone are not good enough. If they had been, then everyone would be believing that Jesus was the Messiah.
Yes.
If miracles had been enough, then everyone would be a Muslim, because they'd say, well, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made the moon split in half, and therefore he must be a prophet of God. But instead, they called him a magician, they called him bewitched, they called him a sorcerer, someone who was possessed by demons. They tried to come up with something else because they didn't want to believe that this was a divinely enforced individual. So are miracles good enough? No. And if somebody is a little bit fair with themselves, they will believe that as well.
And everything you just said about Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, Aliyah, we can just imagine the sheikh that was talking to our brother Hassan there. He would have just said, it's a Nasibi book.
Yeah.
To the whole Bible.
Exactly.
You know, this is their comeback.
Right.
This is their level of reasoning and understanding. They're completely off the straight path, and those who follow them are the same, unfortunately.
Very big shame. And what a great thing to be on a path where God has made it very clear who his appointed vicegerent is, and has allowed that his believers do see miracles. And we do. So how can you, and this is the other fascinating thing, how can you not see miracles when you find the vicegerent of God? Every day with the man sent from God becomes a miracle, because nothing from him is normal. Okay? So once you come into contact with Jesus Christ or Prophet Muhammad or the Qaim Abu Sadiq, you end up realizing that every time you speak to them, every time you watch them do something, it's miraculous.
Yes.
They have unseen knowledge. They know your dreams before you tell them. They predict the future, and it unfolds exactly as they said. We've had some strange experiences here that are unexplainable. They really are, you know. Like, we've had strange experiences like people walking. Do you remember, Dr. Irfan, Sister Feiruz's testimony, where she said that she and Sister Hadil were standing, and Abu Sadiq was walking in front of them, and it was in the snow. The snow had started to melt. And the land was barren, and he was walking, and each of his footprints, she said, I couldn't believe my eyes, each of his footprints in the ground started to sprout little green shoots of grass, and she couldn't believe what she was seeing, and there was no growth on the land at that point. Now we can say
the middle of winter in Sweden, with ice and snow.
Exactly.
And
we can say it. We can say this happened. We know it happened. We saw it happen. Feiruz earned that miracle to be witnessed by herself because of her faith.
Yeah.
But will that be enough for people?
And what about the miracle of Brother Joe that he attests to, where Abu Sadiq takes some plants, he just takes all those twigs, and then he just blows into the twigs, and he throws them right in front of his eyes, and they start to become little tadpoles in the water and swim away. And this is something else that was attested to, and there are many other such things. And all of these are documented on the website, on our YouTube channel, on our TikTok channels. It's there for all to see, because we do realize that people have this expectation because of their religious traditions that a man who is appointed by God and sent by God for the mission of saving mankind should come with certain supernatural proofs. So we recognize that that exists. All we're saying is the first step to benefit from those miracles, those unexplainable visions or apparitions or whatever you want to call them, is something that is not logically possible in by the laws of physics. In order to benefit from that, you must first believe through the written will, through the will that appoints him. Once that box has been checked, then you will see the flood of miracles coming towards those who are sincere workers pursuing the truth.
And I just wanted to say, before we wrap up this segment on miracles, Dr. Irfan, you as a medical doctor, you've been with Abu Sadiq for so many years now, you've seen so much from him, you have walked by his side for a long time, and you are constantly amazed by the things that he comes up with, and his ability to heal And you've taken a lot from that knowledge that he's given you, which is why we have the Medicine of the Mahdi segment, and we invite people to call in. But I think it would be wonderful if you could explain the unexplainable when it comes to Abu Salih's works. Absolutely, because from the medical world, this is a whole other kind of, ball game.
It wasn't Jesus also a healer, and a lot of his most sort of proclaimed miracles have been in the healings that he did, and this is what made a lot of people believe, and especially the people that he healed, those born blind and so on and so forth. And one of the miracles that I'll briefly speak about is the one that I saw when I was with Abu Salih, and there was an elderly lady in our community who had this heart problem, and she was in a dire sort of state, and there was some emergency steps being planned, and he told me to, and she was almost unconscious. She just barely recognized that we were there. She was about to be transferred to another bigger hospital. So under these circumstances, we went to see her, and he placed his hand over the top part of her chest here, and he said, "Put your hand over here." And then he began to pray. And as I'm watching the monitors, as medics, we're trained to recognize the electrical rhythm of the heart, and she was in a rhythm called atrial fibrillation, and this means that the atria are essentially fluttering, and there is very poor kind of cardiac function. The function of the heart is to pump blood. So anyway, I'm looking at this rhythm, and I'm looking at the rhythm, and it's in AF, it's out of sync, and then gradually the rhythm begins to slow down, and then the rhythm begins to have this normal pattern that we call the PQRST, and it becomes very, very uniform. And this is happening in front of my eyes over 10 minutes. And then as I'm seeing her get back into normal rhythm, Abu Salih is still there with his hand on her chest and praying. And then I just back off a little bit, and I take my mobile phone out, and I just take a picture of the scene.
That amazing picture.
Because I was like, oh, now the heart's stable, she's going to be okay. And I knew she would be okay. So we had to capture the moment. And then the next day, she needed dialysis in order to remove fluids because of kidney failure. And then she didn't need dialysis anymore. In fact, they didn't even need to dialyze her at all. We went to see her the next day, and she's sitting smiling in the hospital bed with a big, big smile on her face. You can see all of her teeth. She's just full of life and energy. And I said to the daughter of this lady, I said, "Did she have the dialysis? She looks so much better." She goes, "No, they didn't even need to do dialysis." So it was quite incredible, and this is one of many such things that I witnessed, and this is something that Abu Salih does for those people of true faith, and then those people of true faith actually reach from faith, they go all the way to conviction. And this is where the miracles come in handy, because those people who would have believed anyway, had Abu Salih not done this miracle, for them they really become the true beneficiaries of the miracles of the man appointed by God.
Can I ask, what was it like when you put your hand there? How did you feel? What was that experience?
Yeah, so before that was done...
If that's okay to ask.
No, I think it is, because we did a whole video on it.
Yeah, true.
We talked about
so
the entire incident.
Isn't it?
It is. Before we began, Abu Salih asked the question. He says, "Do you think we can heal her?" I said, "I know you can heal her." So then, and then I knew without any shadow of a doubt that I was going to see something incredible. And we were in the intensive care unit, actually, of a hospital. It wasn't just the ward. We were in the ICU, and I was very conscious of the nurses looking at us, who are these two strange men, praying over this elderly lady. And it was late at night as well. And, you could feel there was something going on. There was a strange energy. You know what it's like with Abu Salih when he's in that kind of a mood. He's just intensely focused, and you can feel the faith, and you can drink it. It comes into you by this diffusion. It just goes into your body, and then you can also therefore do things that you couldn't ordinarily do. And that's the Spirit of God.
Amazing. It really is something. It's sometimes that you just feel lost for words, don't you?
Yeah. There are so many such miracles that we've seen and witnessed, and I pray that all those people who are watching this, who've been inspired by these stories, will really pluck up the courage and take that next step and reach out to the outreach team, where Alia has a team of very dedicated workers working around the clock, and they're there to help you. And don't worry about what your parents or siblings may say or think. This is about your hereafter. And if you find truth in the teachings of the riser Abu Sadiq, the true Mahdi, the second Mahdi mentioned in the will of the Prophet Muhammad, then by all means reach out and we will respond like we always do our best.
Now, we do have those proofs we wanted to go over. They're so incredible and they're so important to know about, because we must know how prophecy is being fulfilled in our day and age. And my goodness, how many prophecies were made about the man that we are following today. There is a whole list of hadiths and verses from the Bible and the Quran, and we're excited every time a new one comes out to watch it and to learn more about what people from the past have said about Abdullah Hashim Abu Sadiq and how prophecy is being fulfilled through him. So let's go and see what we have in the lineup today when it comes to those proofs. Let's go to the first one. So what are the odds that Abdullah Hashim Abu Sadiq would be from Egypt, and he would also be the one who is fulfilling the characteristics of the person who comes from Egypt and calls people to the Yamani? According to the narrations, a man named Abdullah would do that. And lo and behold, there's a narration that says before the Mahdi will come an Egyptian and a Yamani.
Yes. And
what are the odds? I mean,
it is quite incredible, really. And don't forget the narration by Amir al-Mu'mineen that he said, I will build a member in Egypt.
Yeah. Absolutely. And who did that? Who is the one who established a multilingual platform in Egypt in a time where the Shia school of thought was being persecuted, and anyone mentioning anything to do with the Ahlul Bayt of Prophet Muhammad was immediately being arrested? There were news headlines of actual people being scholars of the 12 Shia faith being actually pulled out of their homes by mobs of people simply because they believed in the Ahlul Bayt. This was the political climate back in the time when Abu Sadiq established that multilingual platform, that media platform, from where we were making those videos in different languages about Imam al-Mahdi, and there was not another place on earth in Egypt, not another place in Egypt that was doing that. That was the only
this
one.
is something really to marvel over. If you are a 12 Shia, why would Egypt, a place that is so severe in its persecution of Shia Muslims, be a place where the Mahdi's member would be built? That's strange.
And it was indeed done. That's the uncanny thing.
And by the way, this is a well-known narration. Among the
member one is
member in Misr.
Yes, the platform of Egypt one is something that people, especially the 12 Shias, they do know about. I always say this when we talk to Shias and they say like, well, prove it to me. I say, okay, then show me where in Egypt another man did this. And he had to have the name Abdullah. I mean, okay, so if you say that's a coincidence, right, then you don't believe in God. You believe in coincidences. And that's really unfair to God, because God has a divine plan and He lays it out for us in His divine mercy.
Yes.
So when we just disregard what we see from Him, it's really offensive to Him, and it's wrong.
It surely is a mercy, Ali. You're absolutely right. That's the key word. It really is a mercy, because God didn't have to. The will was sufficient. Yeah. But then for those people who seek that added reassurance, God is like, well, there's going to be somebody from Egypt who's going to build a member, who's going to talk about the coming of the Mahdi. He will be the platform from which the news of the arrival of the Mahdi is given. And before the rising of the Mahdi will be an Egyptian and a Yamani. So then you put all of these narrations together, and there is, like Alia said, it's pointing very, very directly to one individual whose name also happens to be Abdullah.
Exactly. So there's more proofs to come. Let's go to the next one. Just checking with our MCR team. I'm not sure if they know. Let's go on to the next segment, which has the next proof in the lineup.
No, it doesn't seem like there's anything coming. They're just blown away by that Egyptian hadith. They're just like, sure. Wow. They're like, we didn't realize that there were so many things pointing in the same direction. But they are indeed, and it is something.
You try, Dr. Irfan. We will work if you do it.
Yes? Okay. That was a great proof. We really learned a lot. Now, let's move on to the next segment. It's not going to happen today, people. There's a disconnect.
All right, they're trying to test something, that's why. We thought they'd forgotten about us.
It's important to test things, because if you don't test things, you don't learn. You got to break the mold, people. You got to look into new directions.
Yeah.
And this is how, when you experiment, you will find the truth.
We can go on to the next proof of this thing. Let's go ahead.
This too shall pass.
To the people in the East and the people of the West, to the Jews who all hold on to Moses and the prophets of the Torah.
SubhanAllah. So here's the thing, right? When you go through the different scriptures and you go through the different religious books, you will find that there is mention of this particular character in various ways.
Yes.
The name Ahmad does appear in the Torah. And I'm sure Abu Sadiq will be revealing more about the Torah. In fact, he did promise that he will soon be going into the Judaic scriptures very soon and talking to us about what's happening there. We've heard a lot about Christianity and Islam, and I'm excited to hear more about Judaism.
I can't wait for the Judaism part, because
there's a lot there.
There is a lot there that's been preserved, and actually among the we learned, for example, the scrolls of Zerubbabel, which was very fascinating, and that is, of course, talking about the coming of two messiahs, one of them being the son of David, one of them being the son of Joseph, and how one of the messiahs is killed and another one becomes as the king. So we learned so many things from this aspect. And now, speaking of the sons and successors, this proof here is talking about the fact that the Qa'im will be the son of the individual called Ahmad. Muslims are very quick to point out the presence of the name Muhammad. It's literally Muhammad with that hard ha that comes in it. And this is, of course, mentioned in the Songs of Solomon. And they translate to altogether lovely, or the all beautiful, or something like this. But the name Muhammad is literally the same as in Arabic in there. Exactly. So I look forward to seeing the other revelations coming in.
There's quite a lot, yes. Now we do have more to go into, but I think we're going to be waiting on those segments. They're still preparing them.
Yes.
In the meantime, Dr. Irfan, I guess we talk. But we're just going to check with our MCR team if they can be keeping our lineup ready. Okay, let's go on to the next proof. We have it ready. Amazing. That is really something.
Beautiful segment.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this These are beautiful. I love these segments because, like Alia said, they're short and sweet, and they get this very important information across to the people. For those people who want to go in depth and really explore what these narrations are talking about, then read Abba Sadiq's book, The Goal of the Wise, which is a very large and voluminous book, but it's also very beautifully written and referenced all the way throughout. So for those who are seeking more detail and depth, then download the book for free on our website, theahmadireligion.org. So we're very happy that these segments are being made because they draw people into the man who is the spirit behind the face, which is a man who is incredibly generous and kind and loving and supportive of all of his Ansar, and who's always there, who always has their back no matter what. So we are testifying to his character, his personality, his credentials, which are just too many to list down really. But I really hope that people will look into his work and judge him by his works and not by the opinions of others.
Exactly, and you cannot deny that these are absolutely uncanny proofs. The fact that he rises from the West, and he indeed did exactly that. And we had this conversation with Ahmad Halal once on Rise Up, and it was wonderful to talk to him about this topic, about the fact that the Mahdi rises from the West, and that the analogy of the sun is used when referring to the vicegerent of God, and it's been appearing as that symbol for the man sent from God in various scriptures and in different narrations as well. So Ahmad Halal broke that down for us really beautifully, and he even did a presentation on it, which you can find on our Ahmadi Religion of Peace and Light YouTube channel. There is such a great deal of evidence behind this, isn't there?
It was an amazing presentation, and it was an amazing topic.
It is an amazing topic. There are even narrations in books like Sahih al-Bukhari, which is a book of narrations and ahadith from the Sunni world, right? Even there, it claims that the Mahdi will rise from the West. So I think it's a pretty incredible fact, and that we have absolutely seen happening in front of our eyes. A lot of Muslims have come to us in mockery and disdain, saying, so your Mahdi is from the West, and we say yes, because God had ordained it to be so, and it's a fulfilled prophecy.
Yes.
So it is what it is.
Yeah, the Mahdi rising from the West takes a lot of people by surprise, but the narrations are there, and when you accept the first narration of the will, you accept all the other narrations. So really contact us and reach out and call in, take your opportunity to call in and ask your questions directly. And we've become quite experienced at straightening out misconceptions. So a lot of people are there distorting, making up lies and distorting truths and misrepresenting what we're saying. So this is the chance to set the record straight, and you can do that by calling in one of those numbers on the screen right there and engaging with us directly.
And I think we have one more proof left in our lineup that we wanted to cover today. So let's see if it's ready for putting up, and let's jump right in. Yes, there we are.
We're back.
We're back. That passion that we saw at the very end is it's really something to behold, and something you can't help but feel when you hear what Sadiq says about, resolving the issues of mankind.
Yeah, beautiful. I really like I said, these segments are spot on, and this is just the opening. We're seeing a huge opening. The death of the Pope, and Abba Sadiq saying he's the Pope. Wow. It seems to have opened the floodgates, and a lot of it's coming as criticism and negative kind of comments. But still, the people are now hearing the name, and that is what God wants. Once they hear the name, they look at these types of videos. They're all designed to do what? They're designed to allow people to then come in and investigate. But that is a decision that they have to make. That is an investment of time that they have to put aside. God wants people to know He wants people to learn, and then depending on the decision they make, they will have the karmic consequence of that decision. My advice to all those who are watching these videos, these shorts, and hearing the name of Abba Sadiq is to really clean your heart from the inside out and ask God for guidance concerning this matter, because it is the most important matter in your life. And then investigate, and then once you reach the truth of the matter, then make that decision. And then this is a decision that you have made for yourself, and you are happy to live with the repercussions of your choices. And I really pray and hope that you will find that Abba Sadiq is the truth, he is the father of truth, and he is the Mahdi and the Messiah that we've been waiting for in this day and age.
Now, coming up next, we have a segment with our dear brother Kevin Al Almahdi, where he discusses Christianity, and he's talking to the Christians of the world. He has something that he would like to share with them. Kevin has been on an incredible journey himself.
Yes.
Various different paths that he took, looking for the truth, until he finally found Jesus Christ the way that he was hoping he would find him. And ultimately, the successor of Jesus Christ, Abdullah Hashim Abba Sadiq, to whom he pledged his allegiance. So let's go ahead and see what Kevin says and talk about it together.
Kevin, are we having Kevin up? Here he comes.
Why should Christians follow Abba Sadiq? Look guys, it's very simple. Jesus, peace be upon him, when he came to the world, he came to accomplish something. And no, it is not that you gather together every Sunday to sing and dance and clap. I mean, think about it, what kind of person would that be? If he appeared today to you and told you, hey, if you want to follow God, you have to come to me and sing and dance and clap to me, and this is how you follow God, could you do that? Wasn't Jesus sent to preach the gospel, the good news to the poor? This is what the book of Isaiah said. This is what Jesus claimed to come to do. So what good news to the poor? How do we accomplish giving good news to the poor? And how can it be that the good news to the poor is something that won't alleviate the suffering of poor people until after death? That doesn't sound like good news to the poor. Jesus wanted to accomplish something. He was a leader sent to mankind to change the world, to transform it, to bring good news to the poor. Good news of a life where you don't have to suffer the burden of being poor. When you read the book of Acts, you can see that in the early churches, there was no poor among the people. This is because they established a social system among themselves that allowed them to have no needy people between themselves. That is good news to the poor. Think about it, guys. Why would Jesus be hated by the authorities of his time if it was not because he was challenging the authority and the ideas that were prevalent in that time that kept the poor poor and that kept the oppressed oppressed? Jesus wanted to free the people of that time from those chains. He wanted to break them. If you research the history of early Christianity, you will find out that early Christians were behaving in a way that is so different to any of the churches that you see around today. All of them were sincerely trying to bring those good news to the poor, to alleviate their suffering. And to be honest with you guys, I didn't even believe in God. You know why I believed? I believed in God because I researched early Christianity. And I found out what Jesus actually came to accomplish. What was the effect of his preaching back in those days? I believed in Jesus, and then believing in Jesus made me believe in God. Because the message of Jesus showed me a truly merciful God, a God that doesn't forget the poor, a God that doesn't leave the oppressed to suffer, a God that establishes a system that fixes every issue in society. That's what Jesus came to accomplish, and that's what you should be striving for if you claim to be a Christian. The message of Jesus is so powerful that not only in that time they brought him to the cross, but in this time they are hiding his words from you. They are not teaching you his real teachings. They are taking you to church, in order to lie to you and present to you a version of Jesus that is not even in the Bible. Abba Sadiq, from him is peace, is bringing the true message of Jesus back to life. He is reviving the ideals and the methods that Jesus used to spread his word. He is bringing good news to the poor, to the oppressed, to the widow, to the marginalized in society. I invite you, rather, I challenge you to go and read the Mahdi's manifesto. Download it for free from our official websites. Look at the kind of society that Abba Sadiq is trying to implement today, and really come and tell me, isn't this actually not only the most fair, but indeed the only interesting way, but rather the only interesting proposal for an alternative way of life? We're calling to the people who believe in justice. We're calling to the people who don't buy the idea of a God that just leaves the poor to suffer and promises them a paradise in the afterlife. We're calling the people who want to see the glory of God shine through implementing justice in our society.
God bless Brother Kevin.
Yes, Kevin always speaking with the passion and zeal of a true believer, somebody who comes from a Catholic Christian background, who then struggled with his faith because of the unfortunate sort of story he saw unfolding in front of him in terms of the way the scholars were representing what he believed to be the true religion of Jesus Christ. And then he found out that they were completely diametrically opposed to the true teachings of Christ. And this is where he looked for answers, and he found what he was looking for. And now he is one of the most firm believers in this call, where the true teachings of Jesus have been preserved and brought to the surface by his true successor, Abba Sadiq, the true Pope, who we are very much promoting and propagating his teachings on the show. I really commend Kevin from going from strength to strength and his tireless efforts for this call.
Yes, God bless you, Brother Kevin, and everyone out there who's been researching this call, who's been looking into it. God bless each and every one of you. And we were notified that in about an hour and a half, there's going to be something going on in France. The Bishop of France, Brother Kevin Al Almahdi, is going to be live streaming. Well, he's going to be live here, and the people in France are going to be live streaming something. It looks like a demonstration of some sort. Make sure that you're tuning in an hour and a half for that special event. And I guess that is it from us today. Yes, I think we're going to wrap up today, and let's get this demonstration going. I'll be really interested to see how they're going to treat this a bunch of believers who have shown up with calling for justice. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and wrap up now. We're hoping to see you guys tuning in an hour and a half. And yeah, thank you for tuning in today. We'll see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum.